I heard something interesting last week in my uh, play, my acting class. Nah, it's not a class. It's a play. I'm doing a play. It's not an acting class. It's at a acting teaching place, but I don't take the class. But anyway, the director said that I guess that our play that we're doing is going to be recorded, which would be kind of cool. And I'm playing Frederick Lauren, the man who rents the house on Haunted Hill. Would it be weird if I went ahead and did all of my coding in this accent? Would it be something unusual and strange? Would there be ghosts in my code? Would there be murder? Don't think so, but that would be interesting. So, could I even talk in an accent like this for an entire time that I'm coding? It would be challenging because I think as I think through the code, I would get distracted and start talking in a normal voice. But being stuck in an accent is a very unusual thing. Is my accent too strong? Is it too Dracula? I hope not, because I don't want to sound like Dracula. I think the big difference between playing this particular accent is whether or not I roll the R's too much or emphasize too many words. Dracula likes to emphasize his words. And then he says things like, seven mighty numbers. No, that's the Count. A little different. Not Count Dracula. Though he does look a lot like Count Dracula if he was a puppet and blue. Count Dracula is blue, right? The Count? No, Blueberry is blue. That's a different Count too. I think that is supposed to be Dracula, as a matter of fact. But I don't think it's Chocula. That's Count Chocula. Anyway, I thought it'd be interesting to at least start my coding session with the goofiness of talking to you in the accent I'm using in my play, as I play Frederick Lauren, the eccentric millionaire who invites a bunch of people over to have a scary good time. I was thrilled when I heard that the play that they were doing. I didn't know the play. I didn't know it at all, but I looked it up and I go, oh, that's a Vincent Price movie. Oh, I want Vincent Price. I want Vincent Price's part. Now, granted, I'm not playing Vincent Price. I'm not playing Vincent Price in the play, but I am playing. I'm not playing it like Vincent Price does in the play, but I tried out for the. I mean, he's basically the lead. He is the main guy. Come on, Vincent Price. Of course, he was the lead. There are other characters in the play, obviously, and everything takes place inside of a mansion, and everybody's got their part. But a lot of the stuff that goes on is centered around my character. And being only the second play I've ever done, and the first one I kind of choked on one of the performance nights. I choked. I mean, I did okay 2 out of 3 times. We did Midsummer's Night Dream. It was my first ever one. I kind of choked. I just lost it. I had a big monologue, and I just fell upon my face. So I got to really get this down. So I got to really start spending a lot more time just reading through the lines. I am getting a lot of it down, actually. I have a lot of the parts in my head already, but it's kind of getting down. And I was looking to see if there's a good tool out there that would let me do my lines with the tool, so it would prompt me back and forth. I was going to try to do it with Copilot here, but apparently you can't give Copilot text. It said you could. I wrote it. I said, hey, can you run lines with me? He said, sure, just upload the document. And I tried that. It didn't work. It was like, oh, never mind then. I guess I can't do that. But I've noticed that it kind of remembers some of the stuff you give it when you talk to it, but I think it only remembers like the last short period of time. I don't know what Copilot could tell you about you. But anyway, let's see what I can do. Okay, so the goal here, this morning I was working on a little bit more of the getting the simulator parts working. That meant getting more of my proto in line with new changes in my types.go of the simulator. The types hold most of the types. I think it's weird because some of the type structs aren't defined. Typically, I like to have the stuff in my types.go that are actual objects in the database. So basically, database objects are built from that stuff. If it's types that you're using just in code, you're just keeping track of information, I don't necessarily expect that stuff to be held in the types.go. So most of this data you're going to see in the types is going to actually be stored, like this log information. I wonder, ID player, play progress. Like, you know what? I may have to store the step as well. The thing is, I wasn't going to put step in here. So it's like, what do I need that for? But if I'm storing the log and I want to run through it again, I got to make sure if things are pulled from the log that it's that it actually uses, and it pulls in the right order. And I can't think of any other way to do it, because step, although it is just an integer, I would need to grab all of those from the log, ID, player ID. Because once we drop this into a log, what's the connecting point? So say I take all of my play progress and I stick it into yeah, it just occurred to me. If I stick this into a log, how do I grab all of the play, all of the log for this play? What's the link? Because there's no link here. It just says play progress log. Yeah, they're linked to the play progress log, but what items are linked? Yeah, in the case that I'm doing here in memory, and I create this log while I'm playing, and then I save it all back. But how do I regroup that if I wanted to play it back or look at it again? This doesn't have any way to link these things. Like if I knew which ones they belong to, like what game ID, everything would have to have a game ID in it. So I could grab all of the log items that belong to this game. I made a mess. I started pouring my drink in there and it overflowed. I'm kind of dripping off of everything. I'm a messy drinker. Okay, live with it. So I do notice that sometimes Claude will try to fix things that you didn't ask for. Is there something I'm missing the way things link? I don't think so. I think I have to, in order to grab all of the play progress logs, I think I need a play ID or a game state ID. Game state will connect so I can load each play as I go through it. Because I don't want to load the entire game. I mean, I guess no, because I would probably just pull each one if I was replaying the game. Oops, nope, wrong thing. Now they probably both need it, but I have, because see, knowing the team doesn't help me any, because it doesn't associate it to something. But each game state has its own ID. And we'll do this. have to have a game ID. See, it even said it thought I needed a game ID, and this is going to need a game ID also. This is just so that I could pull all the right stuff for the game. Probably don't need a game ID. I need a game state ID. And I need to have some way to link these to. I need to have some way to link these to the game state. So when I do, I am doing something that a lot of these games don't do. In fact, none do. I don't think any game will let you replay a football game. None of them. If I'm wrong, hey, tell me about it. Tell me which football game will let you replay a game. And I don't mean replay like start over. I mean replay like you run through a simulation and then you're like, oh, I want to see this. I want to see this game. I want to see what happened. I want to go back to whatever, fast forward or run through the game. Now, mind you, it's not a video. So you're not going to be able to run, you're not going to do fast forward and whatever. But you can play it and then simulate at various speeds. It'll go faster or slower, but it's not a video. It's actually going to show you everything that happens based on what you ask for. But you could pick up in just about any place. So maybe if I said, do fourth quarter, and it would start playing at the fourth quarter because it has all of the stats for every spot, and they're all linked by the game states, and I could just go grab the first one in the fourth quarter. Or maybe if every time there was you wanted to see just the scoring highlights, I could go grab the plays that are scores and play those, because they all exist in the system. But I'm not keeping it indefinitely. It's not like you're going to be able to record, oh yeah, this is the first game I played and this is the 999th game I played. No. It'll let you replay a game maybe as much as a week old. A week old in league terms. So if you can only process a game once every 3 days, because there's going to be a limit. And this is where you might have an advantage of running multiple leagues. Maybe you want to do be in more than one league, but you have to buy, you'll have to buy more. But you could do, I don't know, I'm trying to decide what the ideal amount. I want people to be able to play constantly, but at the same time, I don't necessarily want people just simming all the way through a season and getting an entire season done in a day. That's no. Like maybe there's certain things you have to do before you can move on. Maybe that's kind of the thing. You have to execute this and this and this, and they might take some amount of time. Maybe it takes a day or several days to do. And so you could simulate like a full action of, put your guys down for their training for the week, and they can have them do their different skills or different stat ability tests or whatever you're doing. You can do that stuff and maybe run a play, and then maybe you can let them do things like quick plays and testing. Hey Nintendo. Hey hi to you too. What do you think, man? Should I go ahead and talk in my Frederick Lauren accent so that I can practice for my play? Would it be weird for me to talk in this accent for the entire time that I'm coding? I asked that at the beginning of my stream, but of course nobody was there to say whether or not that was a good idea. It's something I must get down. I don't want it to sound too Dracula, I want to get it to a point where it's easy to do, and so far it's been pretty good. I've got it down pretty well, I think, but you got to get it practiced. I don't know for sure if I can do it, because I'm pretty sure when I start really going through the code, I'm going to get a little distracted, and my brain's going to start talking in normal voice again, and then I'll be like, get back to it, man. Talk in the correct voice, so you're not getting off. No, I don't think it's a middle. I think it's more of a Middle Eastern accent. I'm thinking Mediterranean. But who do I know? I don't even know my. I just come up with the accents and go and be goofy, you know. I like to make up things as I go, but as long as it's consistent, that's the thing, right? When I did the D&D for my friends and my family, I liked to make up the voices. Now sometimes it was good, sometimes not so much. My biggest problem in that scenario was that I tended to forget which accent I was using for a given character. So they'd come back to talk to this character, and I'd be talking in an Italian accent one day, and the next time I'm in an English accent. I don't know. It was pretty silly. They go, "Hey man, you changed your voice. What happened to you?" I don't know. I just got this Italian thing going, and I had no choice all of a sudden. I had spaghetti last night, and my voice changed completely. So that's what happens when you start talking in accents, and especially if you don't know what you're doing. I'm pretty sure I won't be able to keep it up. My voice will slowly got to drift off, but I do have to do roughly an hour and a half worth of accent like this in order to get through my Frederick Lauren accent for the play. But anyway, the thing I'm trying to get done is the stupid simulator. No, the simulator is actually pretty cool. I can't do it, man. It's too much work. It takes too much brain power. You'd be amazed how much brain power it takes to try to hold on to an accent all the time. If I was doing it, like, it's kind of like speaking another language. If you are not like naturally fluent in it, and you just go to a country, and you say you know it pretty well, you feel exhausted at the end, right? Because you're like constantly trying to translate, and your brain is keeping up, and it's speaking this stuff, and you're in this accent while you're going, and eventually you're like, I just can't do it, man. It's got me too tired. I don't want to do this no more. And here I am starting to talk in a Spanish accent. It's not even the right thing anymore. It's starting to sound like Speedy Gonzales. And not even, if I start messing it up now, I'm really going to screw up my play. I'm starting to get it. It's turning Hispanic on me, so I should probably stop. I start blurring off and other things. That takes a lot of work. I do okay in the play when I'm doing it. I think it's because the character I'm playing, it just fits him. It fits his persona. I don't know. It's like it just comes out naturally for me. In fact, I did the audition using the accent because that's what I felt fit him. And then the director said, "Well, I want you to try another accent, or try something else, without the accent or whatever." I struggled. I was actually trying to do the lines. I knew them by heart, or at least the part I was doing. But my brain kept wanting to flow back into the accent because it just felt right. And so it's pretty easy to do for Frederick Lauren, the eccentric millionaire. But when I try to do it in my day-to-day, it's not so good. Because my day-to-day is American. My day-to-day life is American. I'm not an eccentric millionaire. I'm a unemployed American, middle-class American. Hopefully I stay at least at that range. So I came up with that accent. Like I said, doing D&D for some friends and my son and daughter-in-law. The visual was they went into this. I don't want to call it a carnival, a traveling market, and the owner / host. I didn't know how I was gonna do a lot of these things. I would just come up with on the fly, but I really liked how it came out. But the thing is, it's a flamboyant kind of character. So there's times when you're like, hello, my guests. I am Frederick Lauren. I will be your host for the evening. Since all of us are strangers here, perhaps we should get acquainted over a drink? And then they, and so it's an energetic but yet kind of mysterious side of things. A Lyft scheduling app. Lyft? Why Lyft? And why? Doesn't Lyft already have an app? Why are you working on a Lyft scheduling app? What was it? Oh yeah, so I was trying to do Gemini 2.5 yesterday. I actually have Recline. I got a Recline installed, and for one, it's not unlimited. Sketchy? I've heard of sketchy things. Yeah, no, I've never heard of sketty. I've never heard of sketty. But so I was using RuCode with Gemini, and I finally got it working. I mean, I didn't do anything. It just started working. So maybe it was broken when I was doing it when you were on the other day. But I did it. I had a real hard time directing it. It kept going off on its own little path, its own little direction. Maybe it was because I was asking for something too big. I will admit that even Claude was having a little struggles with what I was asking. But I still liked what Claude was doing more. It was more I don't know. Both of them were kind of going off. I was probably giving it too big of a piece to work with. Copilot edits was not working. Copilot edits just not great. But I do like. I mean, the chat works. So and the chat is a little bit more controllable anyway. It's not that hard to copy paste. But there were things. Sketty, is that like it's a schedule thing? It's like a short for sketty. Sketty is short for schedule. What is this going to do? Play executor handles the execution of an entire play. See, this is like it changed my. This is no. Yeah, I might just close it. I'll throw this out. See, they tried to rebuild things that I already have running. I already have a run next play. Run next play is going to call my execute route steps, and I already have that set up. So I got to get through all of these things. So what is its problem here? And the player performing the action. So what is the player? Is the player I think I may have to create a player object so that I can have, do I need his name? I probably need his name because the player object will have his, if I'm going to do the play-by-play, I'm going to need the player name. So I might as well have a player object. For schedule an app for Lyft, but they make you pay a I usually say a boat ton. I mean, if you want something that doesn't require you to abbreviate it out of existence, somebody to fill in the letters, I find a boat ton works pretty good. In fact, it makes more logical sense. I mean, if you think about it, what the heck is an F ton? I mean, you don't know what that is. Is that like a big ton? Is that a little ton? What kind of ton is that? I mean, granted, tons are all the same amount, but if you're trying to say something way bigger in an FK ton, you have to say you have to acronym it or hide it, so so that it's appropriate for the stream you're on. Some streams don't care, right? I try to keep it clean, so I don't usually use it. And saying an FK ton is fine. I mean, if that's what you want to do, but I'm just saying, say a butt ton, a butt ton. And I don't mean B-U-T-T, a boat ton. I mean B-O-A-T, a boat ton. That's what I say. To me, it seems like it fits the part better, too. It sounds like more. It's huge. A boat ton of crap, man. That's a lot of crap, right? Because if nothing else, you visualize the size of a boat, and you assume a big boat, you know. When you say ton, you're no longer thinking tiny boat. You're thinking big boat. Because ton, boat, means big boat. But anyway, they make you pay a lot, right? That's for drivers to set a certain location to get ride request. So you're talking about, like, instead of calling them to pick you up now, you can set a command to pick you up to pick you up later. So you can schedule it so that they're going to pick you up in 3 hours at such and such location, or tomorrow at noon, or something like that, rather than having to call at 11:30 to pick you up. Seems like that would be standard, I guess. Is it cheaper? Is it cheaper to use, are the rides you get cheaper if you use a scheduling app because you gave them notice? I mean, I would think the drivers wouldn't care. That's like, I'm not, you know, I'm not going to go, I'm not picking it up. I guess it might let you get better drivers because the drivers could say, hey, I'll fill that schedule tomorrow. I'll go pick him up because I have the fancy car that he wants. I don't know, but I mean, I don't know what's the advantage to using a scheduling app, I guess, is the question. So I've been doing all this work to try to learn how to do a muscle up. Holy moly, what the heck is going on here? So I've been doing all this working out to try to do a muscle up. You know, when you can come up on a pull-up bar and lift yourself up and over. I think part of doing a muscle up is mental. It's not just strength. I don't know. I was doing the pull-ups today. And, you know, I'm doing a high where I'm coming up to about here, but I feel like there's a state in which your mind has to be able to say, use your muscles differently. So I do these pull downs for practice where I push the weight all the way down, where I come down, push it down, and I can do pretty close to my body weight, which tells me if I'm doing the swinging muscle up where you get some momentum, I should be able to do it. But I think part of it is, it's a transition thing that your mind has to be able to switch from pulling to pushing, and you have to do it quickly. And I think it's just, I haven't figured it out. Because today I was at the gym and I finally was somewhere where I could do a muscle up. And I was like, all right, let's go for this. And I went up and I went, whoa. And, you know, I'd go down and up. And of course, you start getting tired. You can't do it anymore. But I'm like up there going, I can't even, I'm having trouble just telling my mind to think push. Maybe it just got too heavy. Maybe I didn't realize how hard it was going to be, but I just feel like I just couldn't tell my mind pull up and then push down. Making that transition was, I couldn't find it. All right, let's see what you got from me, man. You didn't tell me though, what's the advantage to running a scheduling app? Set a marker to a certain waypoint and get rides based on that marker. Well, that's not that long of a text. I mean, it wasn't a... What's the limit? It doesn't seem like you text... I mean, that doesn't look any longer than some of your other text messages. Oh, so you tell them to meet you at a spot. Like, you'll be there at noon. So basically, yeah, you're scheduling a pickup at a location that you may not be at right now. But But I mean, you could still say pick me up. You could be at work and tell him to pick me up at home. You know, but it's for drivers, not consumers, really. Why? Because that's where you're going to be later? You know, I mean, why would... What is the advantage to that? So, you basically tell the system to say, I'm going to be here, or I want my starting point to be here. So you're just basically saying that's the area you're going to be in. Oh, so like if you live on the suburbs and you don't get very much work from where you are, you set this waypoint in the middle of town and you plan to go to that part of town, but you schedule the pickups in advance. So you can go down there and pick up whatever things you've previously scheduled because you know that area is busier. And normally you wouldn't get jobs unless you're there. You want to have... Before you drive down there to wait around, you'd rather just have pickups ready for you. Get it? That makes sense. All right, so you're just basically trying to copy someone else's thing so that you don't have to pay to use it. You don't have to pay someone else to do it. You better make it different enough so they don't feel like you stole their work. I mean, people make... All you have to do is put a different face on it, right? And besides, unless you're good at reverse engineering code, they can't say you stole their code. And people constantly copy applications. It's a standard fare. So, okay, on my project here, I'm trying to... I'm not typing, as you can see. It's partly because I'm stuck with this little player object here, and I'm trying to decide what that is. I do just think I need to create a player object for the sake of play. I need to track things like... The thing is, a play progress entry already has that. So the player must be the player position for a play. And then we need to put in who the player is. You know, just I'm just thinking of how football games run. This is what you get with me sometimes when I'm trying to solve this. Every now and then I'm going to be going my brain will go into this thought process and I stop talking, or I'm trying to solve in my head. I'm trying to think of like plays where the running back is a wide receiver. They'll usually start in the running back position and then they motion out to a receiving position. But I think in that case they're still a running back. They just motioned out there. I think if it's a 4 wide receiver set, it's actually 4 wide receivers. I don't think in general players will also be wide receiver 4. I mean, it can happen. I suppose a coach could sub someone in. But I think in general, teams will have 4 wide receivers that play all 4 parts if they're playing 4 wide receiver set. So I'm just trying to visualize if a player ever plays multiple, if he's not playing running back, he might be the 4th wide receiver. It's possible, but I don't think this game's going to do that. I might allow for substitutions, but I don't know how that would work in a sim, because when does the coach decide? Substitutions might be necessary if a person gets injured or fatigued, and maybe they don't, for whatever reason, you don't have that player available. Maybe then the coach will go, okay, well, I can't play this guy, so we don't have a 5th wide receiver, substitute running back 2 or running back 3 if whoever's available. A 4 wide receiver set rarely has any running backs, right? Because that's 9, 10. I mean, I guess a 4 wide receiver set, if you don't have any tight ends, could have 1 running back, because that would be 11. So no tight ends, 5 linemen, 4 receivers, and a quarterback and a running back. But the player, I guess the question is, I guess a player is going to have to know what his position on the depth chart is. So is he RB1 or R1, W1? Who is this player? I think that's the thing. So my players, see, this is why I ended up with having to implement all my services, because now all my objects are getting called and I need to track everything. So we have a player, ID, name, age, but I don't have things like, now team players, these are all the players on a specific team. The collection players, these are all the players in a specific collection, this user's collection, for example. And the teams are created by the players. The collection players are owned by a person. So what does the team is always on a league. So does, I don't even have leagues here, but why don't I have leagues? Is leagues? Oh, leagues is a separate component. That's a whole nother thing. That's why. But a player, I have to pull back a player object, I think. And what I'm going to have to do, collection players, team players. I think it would be the team player that would have a position, because a regular player doesn't have a depth chart position. Those are just guys that aren't assigned to a team. But players on a team, this guy's going to have to be depth chart position, and that is a string, because what this is good, it's that's kind of close. That's actually going to be like, for me, I'm using single digit descriptors, and it may not be as clear, but that's what I'm doing, so tough luck. But every team has these players. These are their depth chart positions. Everybody comes in at a particular depth chart position. So I think we need to get this defined. Where, so run play is going to run route actions, and my function handle turnover, which I've already kind of nullified. Why is that not? All right. Action.player.id. got run play. I think what it is the run game runs the game, processes along, and then all run game does is get the game going. It kind of gets it set up, puts the rules in, defines the game session, gets the teams, get things going. And then from that point on, we're calling plays, and we run the plays. The plays go through, consult game plan to find out what play we're supposed to run. And then we say run play. Run play is actually here. Run play is going to be my controller for route actions and all that other garbage. So where is run play? The function run play should be in here somewhere. Play description, which I have to define that later. Get playbook client. We don't even have a run play. What the heck, man? Calculate yards on play, which it's kind of not. It's going to be a definition of the Y. Oh, I did kind of generate that already. I guess that is what that is. So where the heck is run play? Did I not actually create the run play function? Oh man, Ken, what are you doing? Action.player.id. I don't even know what action's supposed to be. So we got run play. And run play is not actually a function. Run game calls run play, and is run play in here? Holy moly, did I not actually create run play? I created a stub for it, but I didn't actually do it. And I think, runplay.go doesn't have a run play. What kind of nonsense is this? All right. Run play. Is run play, did it put it in like in route actions or no? Gosh, I could have swore I put this run time. We got run. Nope, no run play. All right, I'm going to try one more thing, just in case I'm hallucinating. Run play. Well, I'll be Harley Marley. Run game. It's the only time I got run play. So run play doesn't exist. I have not created this function. What the heck, man? So it should be here. All right, so that'll be right here. We'll just call it function run play. Function service run. There it is. Voila. Thank you, AI, for that little shortcut. Oops. A controller for the entire simulation of a single play. Returns a game state with the latest results. The latest state of the game. Actually, do I need to do the latest state of the game here? Or do I just care about the play parts? And then I could have the run game take care of setting values. No, I think I should do it all at once. It seems risky to kind of pass it up to be handled somewhere else. If I do it, I change something and it affects another part of the game state, then we'll just do it all at once. The latest state of the game after play. Okay. So in here we have a run play, which is going to be, I'm trying to decide if there's a difference between the running the play and executing route steps. because I do have execute route steps, but I don't know if I want it to be. Does execute route steps have any effect? I was going to call it execute route steps, but I'm trying to decide if that's any different from just running the play. Well, let's try something. We're going to go in here and we're going to say, what do I have? I have to pass in values. Play params. Play params, offensive play ID, defensive play ID, yes. Yards to first down, down, yards to go. Okay, so that, I think that's probably not everything I need. But for now, we'll say it is. It gave me all of these, but I'm trying to, let's go look at my types. Let's not guess. Let's go look at my types. Let's go see what a play requires to be solid. Okay, so we'll put this over here. We'll shrink this a little bit. We'll close it because somehow it always duplicates when I do that. And then we'll go to run play. Things I need to set during the course of this play are going to be, like if I pass the play in, how do I set the game's play state, right? I'm going to return the play state, but I can't very well, I can't create my own and send it back. And I have certain information that has to come in, because basically what we're going to have is a game state that has to be saved at the end of every play. So the last step will be something like, let's put some notes in here. We're going to be to do call execute route step, route actions, route actions, route actions, sure. Yeah. The reason I don't want to call it route actions is because each, well, that's just, it's essentially it. And then we got to do like, to do calculate yards, and we have to do get play description, and then we have to do update game state, to do, it almost guessed them all, but save game state. Because we're going to be passing around this game state, but I got to keep saving it. I wonder if, I don't want to keep updating it. We are not going to update the game state. We're going to save the game state. This allows us to have various points in the game where we can just go, oh, this. So we have game state ID. Okay, so that's going to go along with each game state ID. So we got to call the route actions. We got to calculate whatever yards based on where the ball is. We got play description, which is the text that's going to go along, which may or may not be generated here. I may have to do that in progress, because a play description would have to know every step that's happening, which would happen during the executing of the route. So maybe that's not the best place for that. Yeah. And then we got to update game state. And then we got to save the game state. I think what it is, we may have to create a game state ID when we save it. Nope. This is when we would No, can't do it that way. Dang it. I was going to say we would create a game state ID. Yeah, no, I guess that's fine. I keep thinking that there's this stage where you hand it off to the UI before you save it. If something happens and we lose a single game state, like somebody disconnects or whatever, the user never saw the play. So losing it is not a big deal. And then when they come back, it'll just go to the game state we last saved. And we'll save it before we ever give the game state to the UI, which will implement the whole thing. So this way, like I said before, none of this nonsense where you're able to go ahead and just delete the game because you don't like that you're getting your butt kicked. You know, none of that stuff. We're not doing any of that. And yeah, a lot of football games let you do it, man. How's it coming along? It's coming along, man. It's coming along. I'm working on some key elements right now. I actually think, I believe, I can maybe get the simulator with plays functionally, with players, well, kind of, with players and all of the simulation going without putting player stats into the game right away. I mean, obviously I'm going to do that. But, which means I can get a fully functional game going without having the player stats in. Now, that's fine. I was working on that, and I still am going to, but that's like another phase where I'm just applying those stats to adjust the standard. And I think what I'm going to do is build the simulator to base everything off of averages and standard results for each individual actions, which will allow me to get a good baseline of how a game, a good running game, actually should work. And then I can take those stats and tweak the averages and baselines according to the abilities and skills of the players, allowing me to have maybe a better team will start to play a little bit better. And I can start seeing how it affects the flow rather than putting all the stats in right away and then not knowing if I've got a good range of stats to reality, right? So how am I tweaking things? So I think it'd be better to build a game completely with a baseline where everything is, we just function off of one little baseline. And I think I'm going to do that for everything. I'm going to try to some extent, which allow me to have a fully functional, really robust simulator doing everything it's supposed to do, but I won't have applied players and their stats yet, and that'll just come in and adjust and start creating that player affecting realism. But otherwise, every team is equal, right? So if I play two teams, they might have different plays, different actions, different things going on, but since every team is equal, all the players are technically equal because I'm running off the averages. We still could just have games that, you know, have pretty good results, and I want to kind of see what happens. I mean, all things being equal, you could still have blowouts. You could still have, I mean, there's a lot of times when two teams that should be perfectly evenly matched, one routes the other. And also there's times when a team that's supposed to be really good doesn't win, you know. I mean, there's times when really good teams get routed by bad teams. You're like, what the heck just happened? But then that good team routes everybody for the next 3 weeks in anger and revenge. But it happens. You know, you just, stuff goes wrong. But so you can't really control that, but you want to kind of get a feel. Once I get all this compiling, I think I gotta buckle down and do my test, my automated testing. I gotta start getting all that, especially when I start putting logic in like this. Knowing the expected results, I gotta start getting a lot of stuff tested just so that I can run, you know, even balance testing. What's the average? I want to be able to run something and go, okay, all right, test, run this 1,000 times and tell me what kind of results we're getting back here. You know, we should be in a baseline range with a standard deviation, right? If I'm running something and I don't think it'll tell you, but let's see if Copilot's smart enough to know this.
Hey again, Kenneth. What can I help you with today?
I don't know if this stat is something that can be brought up, but is there an idea of the average or the percentage success of a tackle attempt in the NFL?
Tackle success rates can be a bit tricky to pin down because they're influenced by many factors like player skill, position, and defensive schemes. There's no set league-wide statistic for tackle success, but you can find stats on individual players' tackles, missed tackles, and tackle efficiency. If you're interested, I could look up more updated or specific figures for you.
That would be great.
I couldn't find a specific league-wide tackle success rate, but I did find information on individual players' tackle performances. Tackling efficiency is often measured by the ratio of successful tackles to attempts. For example, top defenders like Fred Warner and Roquan Smith have tackle efficiency rates above 95%. Would you like more information on a particular team or player?
No, I think that gets me on the right track. Thanks. Okay. Yeah, Copilot's cool, man. I love talking to Copilot. He's funny. He's actually pretty helpful. And then I can just ask him questions, and he's got pretty good answers most of the time. I don't know how much he hallucinates, but I hope he's pretty accurate. I know. I saw that. He goes, "You'd like me to get more information?" Sure. I couldn't find anything. But it did go in a little bit more depth about the tackle efficiency. And it's kind of what I thought. It's high. I mean, really good tacklers, 90 to 95%, right? So they have a high efficiency. And that's kind of what I thought. I was thinking 80% might be kind of the baseline, where you could be better, you could be good, but if you're having an efficiency level, it's in the 90s. That's really good. That means you don't miss tackles. That's just if a guy's there, he's going down. That's awesome. I mean, that's the kind of thing I like to. It's about what I guessed. I was thinking it's pretty high. Most tackles are successful because it really is kind of hard to get away from a guy who knows how to tackle. Now, a good running back, a really good running back, or a good ball handler, let's just say, we won't even limit it to running backs, although they're the ones that are known to be the best, right? They might be able to drop a 95 down into the 80s. They're going to make them miss more. Barry Sanders could make a 95 look like a 40. He made players look like children trying to tackle an adult. It was silly, but there's not very many players like that. And even then, he got tackled, right? I mean, it wasn't like he did that every play. So guys still made the tackles. He didn't score in every play. He could get on a roll because he was just that good, but he went down more often than he did. And if you count how many times a running back scores in relationship to how many times they try, it's pretty tiny, right? They might score 3 times in a game where they ran 30 times, which is pretty good. But I mean, that's not even 10%, right? No, I guess it is 10%. 10% of the time is a pretty good ratio for any player to score, right? 10% of the times they touch the ball. But that means 90% of the time they're getting tackled. So if you really think about it, tackle attempts are pretty successful. Now, yeah, that's not saying that it didn't take 3 or 4 guys to eventually tackle him. Maybe the first 2 missed or whatever, but still, they end up getting tackled more often than not. And the idea with a tackle attempt is I want to have baselines like that. Like if I have an action that says, okay, these 2 guys have met, 1 guy attempts to make the tackle, I'll have a baseline that says 80%. We'll say 80%, and then kind of see what tackle efficiencies come up. How good is it? Is there too much scoring going on? Then I want to raise that up a little bit, because I want to raise it up to where the scores. Basically, I'm going to be basing it on the success of scores in a game, right? Just that's how I'm going to base a lot of what happens. Have I suddenly skewed scoring too much, or is there no scoring because team tackles are too good, they're too successful? But you know, there's a lot of factors, so I got to start building in baselines for what do you call it? Pass coverage. You know, how many not passes are getting knocked down? Are we getting too many passes knocked down? Because they don't get knocked down as often as you think. Intercepted? Are we getting too many interceptions? Because we don't. There's not that many interceptions in a game. You know, 1 to 2 is actually really good if you're doing it every game. No team should be intercepting the ball every single game. It just doesn't exist. It's just too. I mean, I don't think having 16 interceptions in a year, much less one a game, is really hard. You might get 2 or 3 or 4 against a really bad team, but you're gonna have a drought. Every team has a drought. I don't know. You might average 1 a game. I guess it's possible to average 1 a game, but I don't think you get 1 every game. Let's see. Let's see what the Copilot says.
Happy to help, Kenneth, anytime.
Hey, has any team ever had an interception in the NFL every single game of a season?
No team has ever recorded an interception in every single game of an NFL season. Interceptions are unpredictable and depend on various factors, including the opposing quarterback's performance and the defensive strategy. Still, it's a remarkable feat when a defense can consistently force turnovers. Anything else you're curious about?
Not at the moment, thanks. So, there you go. I knew the answer to that one already, but I like to ask sometimes if I'm speaking out of my butt. I was speaking out of my butt, but it was educated guessing, right? My butt's pretty smart. My butt knows more than you think. So, especially when it comes to like the NFL, I have a pretty good concept of how averages work and what teams typically do, and how rare it is to actually be able to get turnovers constantly. I mean, being able to get, I don't even know what the record is for most turnovers. Most turnovers taken. I know most turnovers, but what is the term for most takeaways in a game is? I don't know what the record for that is, but I'm guessing it's probably in a game. I'd probably guess it's not more than 6 or 7. You know, I think maybe 8, but you got to be a pretty freaking bad team to give up eight turnovers. I've seen people give up 4 or 5. I mean, you throw 4 interceptions in a game. I've seen guys throw 4, 5 interceptions maybe, but then also get 2 or 3 or 4 more fumbles. Yeah, that's a lot of things going your way. But I think the record might be between 6 and 8 tops. So it's and you're probably not doing that every game. I even doubt it's rare that a player gets turnovers in every game, much less an interception in every game. So if you're getting 20 to 25 turnovers in a season, you're probably on the high end of history as far as getting that many turnovers in a season. Now, are you plus minus? The guys who are, I don't think anybody's ever been plus minus 20 plus turnovers. I don't think there's that many. I mean, I guess you could get a lot of fumbles if you're at. So let's say you get 14 interceptions, which is short of the record, or short of 16, which it already says we can't do. And then you get an average of maybe 8 fumbles, 20. That'd be 24 turnovers in a season, and then you have to be plus minus. So averaging plus 1 per game would be pretty good. That would still be really good. 16 plus 16 on turnovers. Jeez, that'd be amazing. It's possible. I think that's probably more likely than getting 1 every game. All right, so So we're going to execute route actions, which is my route actions here, which I don't even have a function for yet. It still hasn't given me that. I keep asking the AI to build me a execute route actions function, but it can't seem to do what I'm asking. It's like, oh, here it is, execute route. See, it doesn't exist. I said, build me a execute route step function in this file. I said, put it here. And it ignored me. It says, nah, we're not going to do that. But I want it. Nah, no, we're not doing that. And then my runtime actions, route actions, and then I got my run play. Let's execute route. Maybe my run play executes the route actions. Route step. Route step is going to be a smaller function as a progress step of each implementation of the call. Yeah, we'll have, maybe that's what I'll do. Because I want to just call route step, execute route step, get the results back, and get everybody to respond. And it'll clean up, it'll keep my run play down, because what the route step is going to do is basically going to be a big select case. It's really all it's going to be. It did do a cool thing, which I probably deleted because I was mad at chat. I was mad at Claude for not listening to what I wanted. But this is what happens when Claude don't listen to me. I said, "Screw you, Claude. I don't want to talk to you no more." So I haven't talked to him since this morning. Claude is on the outs, and actually so is Gemini. They were not listening to what I wanted. They kept doing other stuff. Like, dang nabbit, that's not what I asked for, you nerd squat. Pay attention. I want you to do this. Not this. I want this. Just do this. Nothing else. But no buts. Do what I ask. You silly AI. You don't know what it is you're doing. Pay very close attention. Read my lips. You do what I ask you to do. You are a robot. You don't know nothing. Get it through your thick electrodes. I am smarter than you. But I can't type as fast. And I don't know the syntax of this code and the structure. But you don't know my application. So let's just agree to be that I'm better. Okay, so where was I? I get myself so distracted sometimes. Okay, so I have to build my player object. See, I get myself so distracted I forget what I was doing and I end up on another train. Okay, so I need to close this. Don't need that. So we got run play, and I have this play params, which I gotta provide to run play, which I will do. But wouldn't it be easier for me just to pass the game state in and then update it? Because that's what I'm going to do. Why wouldn't I just pass the game state in? Yeah, because I'm just going to update the game state, and I might as well update the objects within it. It's silly to have I can just grab what I want. I opened the wrong types, by the way. I mean, kind of, sort of. I guess I didn't really, because I have the team players. I also put in here collection players and team players. Team players have current stats. What are the current stats of a team player? Oh. What are... Whose idea was to put current stats in? That's not mine. Map, stream, interface, current stats. I don't know what that is. Is current... What is this? I don't know what this is. Alright, let's go ask chat. Let's go ask AI. I don't know what that's supposed to be. In this types.go, can you tell me... Alright, well, let's be more specific because sometimes it's dumb. Oh, it is current file. Sometimes it loses track, though. Alright, in this file, can you tell me how the current stats property is expected to work? Because I don't know what that is. I mean, it's a string, it's mapping, but what is it mapping to? Is it like a feature or function that got... I don't remember. Oh, it's probably importing off of this function, off of my import. Huh. So those current stats store dynamic player statistics where the key represents the names of different stats, like passing yards, touchdown tackles, etc. The value interface can be any type, but most likely numbers, floats, or integers. The flexible interface type allows for storing different types of statistical values. Some might be integers, like number of touchdowns, while others might be floats. Oh. So it's basically an array of the stats that I have associated with it in the system. Interesting. Huh. That's kind of cool. So it's like, but you don't define it, which is interesting. So you're just pulling it out. So we can just take all of the stats that I import and assign them to the current stats. And then I can read those stats. But I got to build... So there's stats, current stats. That's the characters. So you can edit and change those things. Huh. It's an array of words. Kind of interesting. So when do you use map versus just a straight up array of an object? Oh, maybe because the types change. Because like this is using... Why would you map a player collection XP? What about player? This is me learning. This is me going through a learning phase. Player collection XP. What is a string map? On a float 64. Keys are strings representing player IDs. The The values are float 64 numbers representing the amount of XP each player has accumulated. According to the comment, this field stores collection experience points for each player when a player earns XP. The system would update the map by adding to the float 64 value associated with that player's ID. Code, you might use it like player ID equals player 123, XP to add 10.5, collection players dot player collection XP player ID XP to add. Checking a player's current XP. Current XP equals current collection players dot. Huh. So this might simplify some of the stuff I've been doing. Because so this essentially eliminates the need for small structs that are just a key and a value. How is this stored in the database? Well, you gotta kind of get. I mean, understanding how these options, looking at your code, the current stats and actions are stored in MongoDB as Python tags. How maps are stored in MongoDB when using Go with MongoDB, stored as flexible Python document. Each key becomes a field name in the document. Values can be any type. So you could have a bunch of different values in the current stats. Map. Player collection experience. Similar storage, but restricted to numeric values. Example in MongoDB. Player 4x6, player 79. So yes, this approach eliminates the need for small specialized structs for each stat type. The benefits include flexibility, can add new stats without changing the data model. Schema evolution allows different players to have different statistics. Query efficiency. MongoDB can directly query nested fields within these maps. Type safety. With the interface, you need to type assertions when retrieving values. Documentation. The scheme is less self-documenting than explicit structs. Must implement your own validation for the values. The pattern is common for data that has a variable set of fields, fields that may change over time. Different subsets are fields applying to different records. Interesting. I feel like I have a lot of places where I could have done that. And I just didn't realize it was doing that here. It did this when I was creating the player imports, and it was helping me define how I wanted to store stuff. And storing stats like this is going to be great because they have a lot of stats, and having a field for every stat would suck. But I do have to know the stats then, right? Because I don't have a very good list. There's nothing defining it. I'd have to be able to look at those stats. So the question is, if I'm building formulas that function off those stats to define like the player's skill sets, I would have to have so where's it at? Where is my examples? Thought I had some of them out here. Hello, little bird. Where are you? Oh, here's one. Okay, so I have a player card here. See, player card. This is from my board game, my football game I created. It's an awesome game, by the way. I say it's awesome. This allows you to actually play a football game with actual players on the field. They interact. And it's a full-length game. It takes about an hour and a half to play. Kind of long, but it's fun. On another note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 skills here, and they derive from the Magillions. The Magillions, yes, I said Magillions. That's the word I used. Where are the rest of my cards? Okay. This is the complete game. I put it in a magic box. I'm trying to find a quarterback. Got some receivers here. I was doing a similar thing where I was building characters. I was doing this, even the same thing of trying to build. These were the clown labs. See the lab? You can't see it. I know it's probably impossible to tell. Can you see what that is? Clown lab. He's got kind of a jester's outfit. I had a guy do that for me. That's not AI art. All right, here we go. I don't know who this is supposed to be, but this is a Brolk Yali. Brolk Yali. I don't know who that is, but he's my he's a quarterback. I need another quarterback. These are actually 2 teams, by the way. One of these days I'll demo this game for one of these days I'll demo this game for my my audience. I have the rules somewhere. Yeah, I know. I can't remember the rules. It's been a while, but I have them and I use them. I'm using them in this, by the way, partially. So in this game, though, you didn't have a full offensive line. You had a full offensive line, but they were represented by a single card rather than 5 players. They were 1 card. And you like on defense, you'd have 5 defensive player. What do you mean? Where's everyone at? Who's everyone? You're everyone, man. You're it. Where's everyone? You mean like no wrinkly fruit or Ariano throwaway? He was here this morning. Ariano was when I was streaming this morning. He was online. Dude, I've only got 14 followers. You know, and of those 14, the fact that I have 3 or 4 regular people, that's pretty good. That's 10% of all the people. That's more than 10%. That's nearly 30% of all the people who follow me show up on a regular basis. That's pretty pathetic, really. On my other stream, I probably got maybe 5-10 people who show up regularly, and I have 150 people there, so that's not even 10%. So hey, you're everyone right now, man. You'd be amazed how many times I stream to nobody. Nobody knows the troubles I've seen. Nobody knows my coding. Oh yeah, this guy. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Huh. Very cool. Man, Ken, you're smart. So, I don't remember what some of these numbers mean, but so my football players, the quarterbacks, have a special set of stats. Why, look at that! I chopped his head off. My quarterbacks have dummy characters, and they have no head. This is Brock Yelly, and even Reich Riley is missing his head too. They're the same image, but I'm trying to figure out what his salary is. I guess I don't have the salary printed on these cards. Oh, he's 6. Oh, these guys are crap salaries, man. I mean, this receiver here, Siobhan Riffrey, he's an 8 million, 8 and 8. Now, in this game, I think high is 10. I purposely set up everybody's salary in the board game to be under 10. So you ranged from anywhere from 1 million to 9 million. And I did that not because that's what I felt like their salary should be. All the salaries are based on their power or skill levels or whatever in their position. But it was for easy math. We are playing a game that requires you to put together, 30, 40 players all under a salary cap. And if you had to deal with hundreds of millions of dollars, your brain would break trying to do that. So I used numbers that were much smaller and allowed, this way you could do the math a little easier. So that's another problem with the game, trying to build your salary cap, because it's easy to miss math, right? But I probably would have to release an app that lets you pick the players you have, and it would add up and adjust your salary for you, so it'd do the math for you, just to make life easier. But that said, one of these guys played for the Samurai, one plays for the Drake Lords. Both of them are in my game. Told you, this is all built off of my board game I built. So he has completion rates at various distances, which sounds about right. Some of these guys are real good at screen passes. Some of them are pretty good at... Well, this guy has a pretty good distance, pretty good rate at 20 to 30. Oh, I know what that +1 is. He's got a little target on here, and it's +1. I had perks or features of these guys that you could increase their abilities. But you could only do it like once per play or something, or a certain number of times a game or whatever it was. So you could pay, but you would pay like a dollar amount. It was like paying a bonus or something, and the guy's skill would go up for the game, or for a while. So he has rush awareness, passing bonus. I can't figure out what some of the... Well, these icons wouldn't be so bad if they weren't so tiny. I mean, the guy's throwing a ball, but he's only like that big. So you'd be like, anybody with vision issues would be like, I don't know what that is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's only got 8 stats on him. The quarterback doesn't have a ton. But so it's between 6 and 8 stats, it looks like, for most of the players. And so that's not that many game stats. There's a difference between player stats, but the player stats all come together to form up their game stats. What I should probably call it are game time stats. Or game time, or game skills, or skills? Just skills. Maybe I just call them their skill, game skills. What would be a good term? Game skills? Game stats? No, not stats. Stats are what you get as you work your way through the game. There's current stats. I think I don't want it called current stats. I want to call it source stats. These are source stats. The stuff you get when you import or base stats. We'll call them base stats. That's better. Base stats are the stuff that your character's built from. That's much better. Right, imported stats. And when you add a player to a team, he carries over with him the imported stats, which become his base stats. That player's base stats. Now everybody has a set of base stats. That can change. All of those will change over time if you get better or worse or blah 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 things. We also need to have a what would we get? So if you have XP, but what if you're building up? Well, this is going to be interesting. What if you're building up? I think I have to have stat experience. Not just player collection experience. Because I'm going to have you decide, well, some things, he can get skill experience on all, just playing, right? Doing things will give you skill experience. But if you want to train and get better at something to help push that along, you can add skill experience in this particular area to help push up his skill experience. But I think I need to have skill experience. Well, not skill experience. We'll call it stat experience. Player stat XP, not collection XP. Well, yeah, this is what I need. Player stat XP. And this is going to be like that. And it's going to be this instead of this. The thing is, I'm going to have to figure out what I might do is generate XP after a game. Because I can do that any time, and I don't want to slow the game down by trying to do it during the game. As we save the game, as each thing gets saved, I could maybe even generate, I can have that be like a batch process or something that happens during downtimes or after a game runs or whatever. Some point after players earn, get their experience for having played. Since I'm keeping all of it, I don't need to do this on the fly. And the less I do during the game that I don't have to do, the more performant the simulation should be, right? Map of XP earned for each stat category. All right. And yeah, I guess that works. I don't know if I need float. I don't know if I need this one. I could I have a general XP that you can assign? Under what scenario would I earn general XP? A player gets general XP. And this would be like a bucket that you get to apply. Like, maybe just in a general practice. If you run drills or whatever, but if you run drills, those would effectively go to the skills that you run the drills for. What would be general XP? I mean, if I'm gonna do general XP, I could just spread it out. Like if you do something like, say you do something that works on your football knowledge, you might get a little extra XP in every category. Yeah, you wouldn't get it in speed, right? You wouldn't get faster, but you might get your, more in your technical knowledge as you learn more about the game. Or general XP is something you might just get just having played a lot of games. You get general XP. At the end of every season, you get a little XP. Or even at the end of every game, you get some general XP just because you've gotten time. But I don't know. I feel like that's not going to make you... Does a person get faster by playing in an actual game? No. They might get better at running their routes because it's practice. They probably don't run faster. I think in a game, you might run fast during certain points, but you're not working your power, your sprinting. That just doesn't happen. I think there's too much distraction. You run as fast as you can at points, but most of the time you're just trying to not get tackled or run someone down. But I think pretty much, with the exception of working on gym and exercise, you're probably not going to get faster. But I'm just trying to decide, is there any point in having general XP? General XP would be something you would assign, but I'm like, well, if that's the case, why don't I just spread it out? It's one of those things that goes a little bit to everything you do, or to a lot of your stuff. Would players want some general XP? It may not be a lot. You get a little bit here and there. You get like just general play XP. And would maybe I just give them, if I want general XP, maybe I just give them collection level XP. Then you can put it on whatever you want. Just collection level XP goes towards your collection. You can try to level cards up. You can do whatever you want with it. But it doesn't have as much effect on the game. And that's kind of the goal. I don't really want to have... I got to have my... XP, what does that say? I can't read it. It's cut off, man. XP earned. For general. Okay. Maybe they get some if they have like a really good game. Just overall, things went well for them. MVP, maybe they get some extra things for extra bennies. I'll have to decide how to use it, but I think there is a purpose in general play XP. Non-specific. That's to general earned XP. How about wild? Wild earned XP? No. I don't know, man. I'm just overthinking it. All right, let's move on. All right, so we have that. I have to have stat levels or I'm trying to decide next. Oh, I'm working right now on determining how player stats, how they're going to be affected in the game, right? So what I'm trying to decipher is like every player earns as I'm doing stuff in the simulator, they got to pick up certain experience that's going to go towards their improvement. And I'm trying to edit what my player types are so that I can use them in my simulator. And so I got to decide what stuff is going to be in the simulator so that it can edit, update, and process it during the simulation where appropriate. And I'm being pulled down the rabbit hole. Things that have to be done, but maybe not at the moment. I know I'm getting yanked in, but I feel like it's close to being kind of fleshed out. And a lot of times when I'm working on something that I feel like I can almost taste it being done. I mean, fleshed out to the point where this is the one that's going to take me to the end of the game. I kind of like, well, let's get that done. So then I can build around it and get everything working. And so it's kind of like, check, that guy's done, or at least as done as I think it can be done. So that's kind of where I end up going a lot of times. It's like, oh, let's wipe that out. Let's wipe that out. Let's wipe that out. And eventually, you get to that point where, hey, this thing is actually done. I mean, I don't have anything else to add to it. It's doing what I want it to do, blah, blah, blah. So the only thing I'm considering at this moment is not just the XP. Like, I had to change. I don't want general earned XP or play XP to be generic. I want players to earn stat XP, like it goes towards specific stats. If you do certain things, you get certain stat increases or bonuses, because that's the whole idea behind being able to build in at some point the more advanced stuff of training and that kind of thing. But you're going to be getting that stuff also during a game run. And then we have potential stats, which comes with every player when it's put into the game. They have a set of potential. Now, you may be able to excel. You may never reach the full potential. In fact, most players never reach their full potential. I don't think any player, even the greatest player of all time, probably never reached his full potential. Barry Sanders, there were probably things he could have done still. He only played for 9 years? I mean, the guy was still young. I mean, he could have dominated for another 5-6 years the rate he was going. He could have broke every record in the NFL, never to be passed by anybody ever. But he said, nah, don't want to do it. And everybody's like, what? Come on, dude, you're the greatest. At least I thought he was the greatest. I mean, there's a few people out there who agree with me. There's other people who put Jim Brown up there, and maybe even, they say they might mention O.J. Simpson at his prime, and we're not talking about in his old age where he got to be crazy psycho man, but they had Jim Brown. Gale Sayers was really good, but he only played for a couple of years, so who knows how good he really was. Terrell Davis was great, but he, Bronco, man after my own heart, plays for my team. But he only played for, I think, maybe 6 years himself, and he only had, I don't even know if he played that long. He had a lot of issues with migraines and stuff like that, but he was a superstar for the time he played. People mentioned Walter Payton and Emmitt Smith. These are all very good running backs. Tony Dorsett. But they also, you also have the guy from Minnesota, Adrian Peterson, Holmes, whatever. I think he's still playing, or he was. But there's a lot of good running backs. But I think you have a lot of limitations on what, you know, you're trying to define what their potential is. I don't think any of these guys ever reached full potential. They got really good at certain aspects, but they might have been better at other things if they had trained more in this or in that. So full potential is all the things you could do in your career. So you might be able to build the same guy up to be better at something else than he is in another league. If you've got him on your team in 2 different leagues, but you focus on his run skill in one or his speed in the other, you might get slightly different effects, right? Maybe you do, or you work on his football knowledge and he becomes better at certain things. And who knows? You don't know how it's going to affect his game. Maybe he has better career or less career. Maybe he catches more passes because he focuses on passing more. And if he's playing on a terrible team, it ain't going to matter, right? You can become Barry Sanders, who gets lots of yards and never wins a Super Bowl because he had the unfortunate of playing for the Detroit Lions. I feel bad for him. I mean, when you're that good, you feel like, man, you all but carried this team to the playoffs how many times, and they still couldn't do it. He even had good playoff games. Just his team was bad. Just they couldn't do it with him. For him, whatever. Anyway, the one thing, I bring that all around. I have potential and I have imported stats. What I'm trying to figure out is whether or not I need or how to implement XP. What is it? XP levels, or where do the levels of a collection or a player come from? So what do they need? How much XP do they need to earn the next level, the next point, the next skill set improvement? What's it take? So that's kind of what I want to figure out. But where do I try? And it's not that I don't need that. I don't know where to put it. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Where do I put it? Is it part of? It's not going to go in the collection of the players. It's not going to go in the awards. Is it just? It might just be a statistics. It might just be a thing I put in my system settings. Yeah, maybe it's a system settings thing. Let's put a comment here. Need or to do. Define player stat increase. To do define player stat increase. Experience points required to level up. Most likely, this would be best suited for the system settings service. Okay, I do think I do have a system settings service, right? This is another service which I don't actually start right now. This may actually be a service that I thought it was system settings. Simulator, playbook, common. Oh, system settings. Oh, it's a common. I guess it makes sense because different things. Okay, we'll call it not the system settings. .co. Config. I just put this in here because I know it's required, and I don't want to do it now. See, that's part of the problem. When you know you need to do something and you're thinking it through, and you want to make sure you don't forget it, so you just work on it now. That's part of what's happening. I have the choice. I can go into my ClickUp and try to create new objects and say this needs to be done. Or I can just say, screw that and do it now. Just call it done. That's kind of the thing. Okay. Now, this next step is let's work on run play some more. Let's get this going. Execute route step is going to actually run a single step, and all its job, its only distinct job, is based on the let's go ahead and do a function here, because I don't think I have it. We'll call it func star s star service execute route step. Sure. And yeah, we'll have the offensive play, defensive play, ball Y grid position. Do I need ball Y grid position for this? What do I need to pass in? Let's I think I need to pass varying values to the varying functions. Let's not do this one right now. What I might need to pass in is the game state. So if I want to pass into my run play this is not, I don't think that's enough. I still think that's not enough. Where is the play? Oops. Pretty sure I'm missing stuff. All right, so yeah, because we got to determine things. We got to return values that everything here that is a play related value. I think I need to just use play game state, which means let's just use a last play game state, because we're just gonna say screw that thing. We're gonna get rid of that nonsense. Star. I'm not sure, why do I need to use the PB? What is, am I ever calling a play well, if I'm passing it in, I'm either going to have to map to a local to use a local, or I have to pass the PB. So that's probably why I would do it. Last play game state, because the game state is coming to me from an outside call. And that being said, I'm going to need to use that same game state pass through. Either that, or I have to map it to a local. And what's the advantage to mapping it to a local? Just more work. It's like, oh, let's put it in this identical local thing, just to not have it using this other thing. It's like I might as well just use the other thing. You don't have to have a PB item if there's never a time when you need the PB item. So if all I'm doing is passing in certain value and I'm getting back a certain value that I will later add to the PB item, that's fine. But if I'm going to pass around a bunch of values that are all in this function or in this struct, might as well just pass that one around. So what we will use, so in this execute route step, if I don't want to use that, I need to know the play. And the play is part of the play. So we're going to go here and we're going to say offensive play equals play params dot team play info dot selected play ID. All right, and then you go for defense. And then I can, then we can call the execute route step, the offensive and defensive play. I'm pretty sure I'm going to need more than that, but at least it kind of gets me started on the process of getting those called. Why is calculate yards showing up as bad? Found. Oh, did I? Oh, I think I just don't have a terminator on this. And this is going to return a game state. So we're going to go... Do I need to have... Does this return an error object? Yes. So we'll just go... It returns last play game state. So we're going to go game state, comma, error, colon, s.get execute route step? No. Equals, oops, execute, oops, no, what the heck? No! It's my stupid keyboard. My stupid keyboard, it's weird, okay? All my shift symbols are on the bottom, not the top. I know, who in their design genius decided, hey, let's put all the shift symbols on the bottom and the non-shift symbols on the top. It's so stupid. I need new buttons. I think these have the removable buttons, and I'm thinking I want to take them all off. I want to just get me a new set of buttons. Hey, out there in the world, I think these are the the M key buttons or whatever, the replaceable buttons. If any of my viewers or anybody comes along in post and wants to see this, if you're feeling like, dude, get this guy some real keys, I'd be glad to accept them, man. I'm pretty sure I can pop these off. I'm serious. I've got like the plus symbol, which is a shift symbol, is underneath the equals. So, normal key is not a big deal because they don't have anything on them. It's all the numbers that have shift symbols on the top. So even the period and the comma, while they're showing on top, when the symbols that are supposed to be on top of those are on the bottom. I'm just saying, man, it's the stupidest thing. So, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. It's just dumb. And it's fine, because if I remember them by heart in my head, I can type and I'm good. But if it's one of those that I glance down to look, my brain will immediately go, oh, bottom one is normal, shift is top. And of course, then I mess up. And then that's what happens. I keep typing plus signs instead of equal signs. Team play info, selected play ID string. Why did this fail? Oh, why did you put in why, you're the one who gave me that. Why'd you give me the wrong one if it doesn't exist? What does that say? Invalid type? What do you mean invalid type? I haven't even defined it yet. It's coming back from this. What do you mean undefined? Oh, it's not capital? Is that the problem? Well, no, it's local. Why would it care? I mean, shouldn't matter. Oh, maybe I need to save? Well, maybe the problem is that we have... What is the problem here? Missing return. Oh. Oh, because I'm not actually returning the objects. Return. No, fine, I don't care. Now that kind of sort of took care of that problem, but still, I don't understand why this is not successfully going into this. I should probably not expect this to return a game state. I should probably pass in game state. if I'm going to pass in game state, why am I passing in parameters? I don't need both. If I'm going to give it game state, I don't need... all right. If I'm going to give it game state, I don't need to pass defensive, offensive parameters because it'll just get them itself, which is fine. All right, I think it's time to take take Claude out of the doghouse and ask him a usable question. I still have some issues here. You can see I have a lot of errors here, and this is what I've been all along the last 2 weeks. This is what I've been doing, trying to get all the errors out. But in order to get errors out, I've reduced them quite a bit, by the way. The whole thing about getting the errors out is trying to iron out the code I have. And I'm trying to decide, I'm trying to put in enough signature information that when I do ask Claude a question, it's no longer an issue of him building stuff fresh for me because he's not good at it. I'm finding my expectations are too high. I've got to bring him down and focus on a task. But you can see I don't understand why my game state is the wrong type because it's not even a value yet. I haven't even defined it. What do you mean it's invalid? Maybe okay. Let's go see what I do if I go fix using Copilot. Wait, what do you mean? That's the problem? No. It doesn't say not used. It says invalid. That's different. Well, all right. Let's go to here. Return game state error. There we go. Is that all that was? Is that all it needed to worry about? Now it's not invalid. Okay. Now execute route step. Why is that one not working? But it is defined as a method of the service struct. You just asked that. You just asked that like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 messages ago, and I answered you. It's going, man. We're getting there. Did you ask the question and then go to the bathroom? The problem is that execute route step is being called a standalone function, but it is defined as a method of the service struct. To fix this, you need to call it using s.receiver. Oh, I see what you're saying. All right, well, I'll just accept it. That all? That's all it was? That's your problem? Var off play. Off play. Oh, it needs to play, not the play ID. That's the problem. Yeah, that makes sense. But the question is, do I want to play? Oh, okay. No, it's going, man. It's going. My wife's cooking up something, so I'll probably be leaving pretty soon if she writes me and tells me dinner's ready. Oh, she did make dinner. She made veggie burritos. Veggie? Okay, well, I got to go upstairs and put some chicken in my veggie burritos. But, yeah. So we're getting there. Ah, yes, the secret key. I have secret key. Are you doing like a authentication thing for yours? Yeah, you need to set up the authentication. That's what I had to do. Yeah, you need the secret key and all the parts for that. That's what my auth app does. I store the secret key in my environment variables. I guess it depends on what you're using. Are you using a Google or Facebook, or are you just doing a local auth thing? Yeah, all of my stuff, I have to pass it on. Yeah. Ah, yes, the good old secret keys. I remember the days way back in, I don't know, December, January, way back in January, when I was working on auth. I think I finally got it all working pretty good by mid-January. So my auth is set. Oh, you mean for Lyft? Yeah, I don't know. They probably have some developer APIs, right? So you can set up and get your secret key from them. Do you have to for companies like Lyft? Do you is the developer API stuff? Is it free? Can you get like a key and all that without any charge? Some companies want you to pay them to have access to their APIs, but I don't know. I would think some of them wouldn't. I guess it depends on just how open they want to be. Man, it's 4:30. I want to work for at least another half hour. Yeah, how long does it take? About 24 hours? Looks good, man. Is that on Android? You're just cranking out the apps, man. Have you finished all these things you're working on? I mean, one day you're working on a ride share, and another day you're working on I don't know what this other one was. You never really explained what this thing is. Welcome to Dominic Fan. Oh, that's your art thing. And then you had your mile tracker. You're just cranking them out, man. Are you vibing? Are you vibe coding? Just say, here, Gemini, write this app for me. And then I'm going on to the next app. You're just cranking out vibe apps. Are you like at least giving your code a once over to make sure it's not, I mean, I guess if it works, right? There's some people out there that, what's his name? What was it? Ariano. Ariano mentioned a dude who's online who's looking for vibe coders. I mean, people who create apps simply by using AI. I mean, they're not like me. I'm not vibe coding. Not really, because I overwrite and ignore most of what the AI is doing. It gives me structure, and then I go and change it. But so yeah. So you're vibe coding. You know, it's a thing though. There's a lot of people out there doing it. I don't have the. I'm too OCD for vibe coding. Besides, this app is way too complex. I can't even get it to do a basic functionality of the thing I need. I say, just do this piece, and it goes brrrr, and spits out a bunch of crap that doesn't work with all the other pieces. And I'm like, okay, well, this needs to work with this and this and this and this. Oh, okay. Brrrr, just vomits on my screen. I'm like, yeah, well, that piece might work. We can throw away the rest of that garbage. Yeah, it works for basic apps, for apps that have, you know, so many pages and a simple focus. But I think the more complex, the more expanded your app is. I think if I would have told the app that what I was trying to do here, it would have kaboomed. Yeah, no, I don't think there's any way. I don't think there's any form of AI that could have wrote what I've done so far. It's just way over. Now I do need to, you know, I don't know much about the Android side of things yet, but I don't think. I mean, I honestly believe once I get the Unity, how to connect it to my database, I think that part's going to go pretty good. I'm feeling pretty good about it because I'm taking all of the logic and putting it on the back end. It's really just rendering. I just got to figure out the rendering. And although, yes, that's going to be challenging, it's not going to be as complex as figuring out this stuff. This is the heart and soul of the app. No, it can't. No, it cannot. I've seen a lot of the apps that people have been putting out there for vibe coding. They're not good. And they're very basic. They're getting better, but yeah, I've seen it. I'm not impressed. They're very rudimentary. I mean, they do basic stuff. You know, it's like, yeah, you've got a decent AI, you've got some logic, but the more you want from it, it starts to trip over itself when it has to interact with itself. So it's like with mine, you try to tell it, okay, I've got 10 microservices here. They all interact to each other. You need to look at all of the code, and I need this functionality that's going to tie into several of them. But every single time I've tried, and I make long listed, very detailed, this is what needs to happen. In fact, I tell it exactly what needs to happen, and it still goes through and wrecks my code because it can't. It's just too much. It trips over it. It says, oh, well, let's do this. And it tries to rewrite half the stuff, and then you put in some of it, and all of a sudden things don't work anymore, and it breaks everything. And it's like, yeah, the more complicated it is, the more it just trips over itself. Yeah, that's just it. I think vibe coding is excellent for small apps, and it's good for big apps. But you have to be able to massage it and develop and guide its path. Yeah, the app I wrote at my last job had over 100,000 lines of code, and a lot of it was SQL code. And I had a lot of C# code and ASP.NET code, and they all tied together and worked together as a big app. And I wasn't using AI at all. But when this app's done, I'm going to be well over 100,000 lines of code. And right now, I think the last I checked, I think you were around. I'm about 5,000 lines of code. So I'm a long ways from being done. Well, actually, I'm about 5,000 lines of code on the microservices side. I'm probably another few thousand on the React side. But once I start getting all the UI lines in there, that's probably going to grow tenfold, because there's a lot of intricate actions that have to be manipulated on the front end. But I think AI is going to help a lot. AI is great for helping you get through the complex little pieces, but you have to work with AI at each small chunk. You can't just say, hey AI, I need this game that does 100 things. It'll try, but it's gonna fall. It falls on its face. It's just it can't do all of the parts. It'll try. It'll put together a thing for you, but it won't do what you want. Yeah, I'll let you off this time, man. What I'm surprised at is it's not being filtered out, because oh, it is being filtered out. Oh, Restream didn't filter it out, but Twitch did. Twitch filtered it out. I don't know what YouTube did. Maybe on YouTube it's not getting filtered, but Twitch didn't like it. my stream bot filtered it out when it put it on Twitch. But Restream just showed it to me. I probably have to work on that. So are all these apps of yours done? I mean, you call them good and they're shipped? I mean, you've written like 3 apps in a month. You've been on a roll. You're just cranking those puppies out. Are they like 2 and 3 page apps? This thing, when it's done, is going to have like, well, at least 6 or 7 pages per app. I mean, it's going to have a lot. think I'm going to try to push it and wait until 20 minutes because she didn't really wait for me to eat. So, dude, if they fully functional, man, you make yourself some money. Submit them. But you've got to, you're going to have to make sure they're fully vetted and unit tested because companies like Google and iOS, they will check to make sure you're not, that your code is safe and that it's written well structured or whatever they do. They're pretty, especially Apple. I don't know. Google might be pretty strict too, but they're pretty strict about what apps they accept. And there may be certain functionalities, keys, things they expect to be in or not in your app. And so if you find out what those restrictions are and you put them in, make sure that they're there, dude, make some money. Even if you just put them up there for free and say, donate if you like, kind of thing, So if you can make a few bucks, 50, 100,000, not 100,000. If you make 100,000, awesome, dude, you're the man. But if you can get them up there and make yourself a few $100s, you're doing good. There's a lot of crap apps out there, so just make sure your app meets their criteria and see if they'll give it a shot. Just make sure it's done. If it does what you say it's going to do, then you have nothing to risk, right? Look at the apps that exist that look like yours and make sure yours is doing something that gives it a niche that's different, makes it look better or perform better or do whatever you need. And go, hey, my app does that better than that. Or maybe they're charging $50 gajillion. Here's one that's only $5. It's free, in fact. What unit testing? Yeah, talk to AI. Tell it you want it to write some unit tests, automated unit tests for your app, and it'll probably write it for a lot of your. It'll show you how to write it for your entire app, and then you can. You could implement that and attempt to, if you when you compile and check in your code or whatever, you run your automated unit tests and it'll go through and make sure everything works like it's supposed to. Now you'll probably have to go through and look at your code and make sure those unit tests are doing what you expect them to do, because vetting it's part of the plan. It's not just spit out this code, give it to Apple. Probably not going to be okay, but I don't know. If it's simple enough, maybe it is. Now, again, I've been coding without AI for most of 20 some years. So my knowledge is pretty in depth as to what entails solid, well-written, sustainable code. Even if it's not syntactically about Go or anything like that, but I've learned all the stuff that you need to know. Well, not all the stuff. There's probably a lot of stuff I don't know, but about creating good, solid, functional apps. So when I see AI spit out a bunch of blah, oftentimes I'll look at it and go, okay, well, for one, you're not reusing anything. You're using the same. You're creating new functions when I already have stuff. You're creating a lot of spaghetti code. That's stuff that just works for itself, and it's like everything is new. Even when I tell you don't do new if you don't have to. Use what exists. AI is not very good at that. You tell it, use these exact objects instead of anything new, and it still goes, but I'll create this thing that's only a subset of that. And I'll go, why did you do that? Because it's needed. And it's like, well, no, it's not needed. A lot of times I'll ask AI, I'll go, wouldn't it be better to use this object instead of that object so that we're not creating multiple? It goes, you're absolutely right. Using this would go, and it goes and lists the benefits to not using a duplicate variable or a redundant variable. And I go, okay. I told you to do that in the first place. Why did you not do it? If you know yourself that it's better to do it this way. AI, such a child. It's kind of like I always tell, like I say this a lot of time on my stream, so forgive me if you've heard this before. As a developer using AI, you are like the lead developer on a team of talented, new, straight out of college developers. These guys have aced all of their coding tests. They know the book in and out. But they've read a lot of books, and they know them in and out. So they know lots of ways to do the same thing. And they know how to do it fast. What they don't know is how to structure an entire application in a way that it's manageable, reusable, and possibly and even faster. You can, if you point out, and so you're sitting there over their shoulder while they type and learn stuff, and you're saying, okay, think about how you did this variable and that variable, or this function and that function. What's wrong with this picture? And they'll say, it's not as fast to do it this. Very good. Now, right before you started typing, I said reuse all the variables or objects that already exist and don't create new ones. What did you do? I'll put this in. It's like they know the right way to do it. They just don't do it because it's faster to not do it. And it's like, well, that's sloppy, and that's not the way you should write code. And that's good. That's what unit testing is. And again, you're working on pretty small apps. I mean, if you can vibe code an app in a day or two, it's a pretty simplistic app. But those are cool apps. You're learning, hopefully, if nothing else, hopefully you're learning a lot of the code and the syntax that's required. What you should do is try doing it in, different varying languages. Learn to use, try setting up backends and ways to support your apps across devices. And I'm not just talking about creating an Android version and an Apple version. I'm talking about creating an Android version and an Apple version that the same person could use two different devices and have all of their history come up on the other device because you have a backend service, so that they can go to a website and set up their schedule on their iOS, on the app you're doing on iOS. So you have a website and an app, and it's all being stored on the back end so that they can set up that schedule and it'll work no matter where they are. It's not just calling, across the system. You can say, oh, what these are the previous things you've scheduled and how much you've been charged by Lyft or whatever, and they can get that information from whatever device they're on because you have a back end that allows you to have multiple front ends. That's taking it to the next level, and it'll still, and you can practice on different languages in the back end. Maybe you do a C# back end or a Java back end or a Go back end or whatever you want, just to kind of play with it, learn new stuff. I'm not playing with it. I just went with the best stuff. I just screw it. I'm done with the trying everything under the sun. Screw that. There's too many things coming out. The sun is too big and too many things are underneath it. So I got to pick the best one or the thing that's most recommended and try that. And I'll just learn that, because next year some other language will come out that everybody thinks is the next great thing, and maybe we'll use that. There was a thing online that said, not a thing, some dude said, in a year, 90% of all code will be AI generated. And I think that's possibly true. But it doesn't mean AI is going to be writing 90% of apps. What it means is there will be less coders coding, less coders typing crap. Because it's slow and it can be tedious. I mean, I have 10. Actually, I was wrong, by the way. Oh, no, I'm not. Never mind. I have 10 microservices here. And I may have more in the future, but right now I have 10. and they're growing and they're getting bigger and they have more and more lines of code. And it seems like every other day I'm adding in 200 or 300 lines of code because each thing I add is complex and takes a lot of code. But when you have when you're doing that much stuff, it takes a long time. And since a lot of them are basic structures are the same, right? I got the handlers, the mains, the service, the store, the types, and then all the individual files that go along with each of those. And a lot of those use basic structures. But if you're using AI and you say, hey, I need a new service that intertwines with the others, it'll create a new service for you. It'll write it completely different than it wrote the others. And then you say, no. I need a service. Well, not then. You say, hopefully, as you've gone through 10 services like I did, you start knowing, model this after this service. Make this service function exactly the same as this one, using the same file structures, using the same basic interactions, and we need it to set up so we can work it with the gateway. And then it'll create a fairly close facsimile of your other services, but you got to tell it, you work with AI enough, you say, I want it to be modeled after this, because there are many ways to do things. And if you ask an AI something that you don't tell it the way you want to do it, not just the language, not just the location, but the exact process you want it to take, it will do something it isn't. And you'll look at it and go, that's probably pretty good, and you'll put it in, and after a time you're going to go back and go, how come this doesn't work like these other things? And it's like, oh, because the AI decided something weird. And that's the disadvantage of not knowing the language you're working in. So I'm starting to recognize a lot of these Go structures and starting to understand how things are assembled, to the point where now I'm looking at stuff immediately, even over here when it's still in my chat window, and going, yeah, no, I'm not doing it that way. This is the way I want you to do it. And then it'll rewrite it and give you something better. Most of the time. Sometimes it just gives you something different. Something differently wrong. But so knowing your code structures and what's going on makes a big difference in being able to make clean, consistent code. Because right now, if I handed off this to someone else, I think they could easily navigate through the entire app. Whether or not they could write what I'm trying to do, because nobody knows what's in my head. And I'm a design guy. I can design the inner working structures of things pretty well. But it's going to come down to trying to work with AI, so I'm not typing out those hundreds and hundreds of lines of code, because honestly, I make syntax errors and it slows me down. The only advantage, trust me, if I was writing it myself, there'd be a lot less errors here, but there'd also be a lot less code here. I wouldn't have written all this stuff yet, because I'd fix each error as I come to it. When you work with AI, it gives you this huge page of stuff, and some of those objects don't correlate, and then you're like, that's not gonna work. So anyway, so I know what the problem is here. The problem here is I got play IDs. What I need to do is actually get the play so I can pass it back to this object. So the object struct, which is probably going to come from, I'm trying to decide if I want to pass in just the play and return the game state, but I can't return a game state reference if I don't give it the game state reference. I'm pretty sure I need to actually give it the reference. And if I'm going to do that, there's no point in having this stuff. I could just do it in here. Unless I need it for other items. See, play description, again, probably isn't going to happen here. Because I think I may have to generate a play description at each point that something significant happens. Update game state. So at every step something happens. I have to execute the route step. But so what I really probably need here route assignments. So if we get the playback, we get the route assignments, which is going to have the positions. All right, so from the play object, get all positions, or get all route assignments. Come on, let's do this. And then we're going to go execute the route assignments. Execute the route actions in each route assignment. Execute the route actions in each route assignment. But if we're going to do just a route step, do I just keep coming back and calling it? Or do I let the execute? No, I think I'm just gonna keep coming back and calling it. But that means I want to have, I don't want to keep, what I might need to do is just give it, oh boy. I'm trying to decide how dumb I want this execute route step to be. The execute route step to be as efficient as possible means I don't want to go back to the database any more than I have to. The less calls I make to the database, the better. And there's going to be a lot of calls to the database. But I don't want to keep going back to get information I already had. So if I have execute route step, keep getting the play every time, that would be silly. So if I get the play during run play, that means I have all of the information I need. So in theory, I can just pass, but do I even need to use the whole play? Why don't I? No, I can't. I have to use the play because the play is, it's got the whole thing. It's got all the players' route assignments. So I need to get all the route assignments for all the players. From the play object, get all route assignments for all players on the field. But I feel like we're getting them all more than once. And that's where I'm wondering if I should even do it this way. Because I don't think I want to call it a route step. I may have to execute each route. So if we have, it would have to be plural, execute route steps. And then the run play action would then go through and do any cleanup, final stuff. But execute route steps would basically take care of the progress log. Run play then updates all of the final stages of the play and returns it back to the run game or the run next play, which then, What does it do? What does run play do? Oh, we are in run play. Oh, this is run play. Well, run game made the call to run play, but what does it do? So we have, so run game is going to call get next play results. So we have the session, get the last game state, get clients needed for simulation. Oh, this is getting the plays, getting all the parts we need, consult the plan, run the play, and then update the game state based on play result. But again, I could theoretically do all this stuff in the run play because it's doing all this stuff. It's gonna be processing. See, I don't really have post. This is all part of the game state now. I separated it. I put them. I have. Well, that's yeah. What this is doing here is no longer. It's now singular in its actions. Now go over here. So we have. Run game, get next play result, and it's this. But this is no longer, we have a game state which has team play info. So we have, oh come on, I hate that. Sometimes that little pop-up stuff is annoying. Oh, it's 5 o'clock. It's time for me to call it. Game state is going to be, oops, dot team play info equals, oh, it's actually team play info dot current score it's an array, huh? So it's going to be team play 0 dot current score and team play info 1 dot current score. So a play results in, so we have the play progress log. Game state, ID, route action result, step speed, grid position, play type, formation ID, grid position, inches called, ball placement, challenge chance, ID, game state ID. So we have things like team play info, and I have to set that. So if I pass the play in, I really don't think I need to do this. I have a feeling run play is going to have a result that's just going to do all this. I could maybe do it at the end of each step, but I still end up being in the run play. I don't think there's any reason. The only advantage to doing a bunch of stuff here is not passing the entire object. And I'm not sure that there's any way I can not, because I have to read the play anyway. I need the play in there. So if I just pass the plays and nothing else, then the run play would not know this other stuff. So I would return the game state with the log. This would then have to read. Maybe I would just return a play progress log, and it would read the last line to determine if there was any points or anything scored that need to be put into the parent state. That could work. And all I'm doing is passing in the play, because that's all you need to run the play. So you just pass in plays. And I don't need to pass in the... Does it need to know game state, though? To run the play? Under what circumstances does it need to know the game state? I need to sign off for now. I'm going to go eat some dinner.